So what I've always enjoyed about working with Picture the Poet over all the sessions that I did was how well organised it is. And I think that's part of the magic. If you're going to get some magic going, it's got to be well organised magic. And if we don't organise it properly, then it's not going to work as magic. And I'll give you two examples of things that haven't worked as well. For example, the wonderful Barnsley Cooper Gallery once sent me into a school, and they have two artefacts boxes. And the artifacts box said, we're going to do a thing about the Second World War. If you can take the Second World War artifacts box, I want you to make a story up with the kids, and at the end, open the artifacts box and take the artifacts out, and we'll talk about the Second World War. I said, right, and it was fantastic. We did this thing, me and the kids, making up these stories about the Second World War. Then we opened the box, and it was the wrong box. They sent the ancient Egyptian box. And there was a wonderful moment. And the best bit was there was an HMI in there, and it was great, one of those that don't do all. And I said, do you want to join in? And he was just interested at that point. The other one, when it wasn't very well organised, was I did a thing at the library in the next village to me in Cudworth, near Barnsley. And the librarian was very excited, but also she said, I've got to tell you, before we start, I don't feel very well. I said, right. She said, so once we start, I'm going to have to leave the room and let you carry on. I said, right. And I could tell her, she introduced me, she was getting paler and paler and looking iller and iller. And I could tell she wasn't very well. And suddenly she turned and walked over there and left me to it with these young people, but then went into this toilet that was just there behind a very thin door. And it was the loudest being sick I've ever heard in my life. And not only was she being sick, she was going, oh no, oh my God. And it was terrible. It was horrible. And that didn't happen at all with Picture the Poet. Neither of those things happened. Neither happened. You got there, everything was organised. And it's part of the battle. It's part of the battle that everything has to be organised. Because I think what's really inspiring about the work we've heard today from the young people and the talks we've had so far is that actually, when I think about it, this kind of work with Picture the Poet reminds you of who you are and who you can become. That phrase has been used already. And that's the great thing about working with institutions. That can remind you who you are. I always talk about when I once went to a school and I was met at Newark Northgate Station. I went to this school in Newark because they've got one now. And they rang me up and they said, some places don't get that one, I won't name names. Chesterfield. They rang me up and they said, we're going to meet off the train at Newark Northgate Station at 9:30. I said, right. So I got off the train and there's only me got off and there's one person waiting. And I thought, well, she's come to meet me. So I went up to her and I said, hello, in a friendly fashion, as you do. And she looked straight through me. I thought, oh, sorry, miss, it's the wrong person. And I'm stood there looking nervous, and she stood there looking at her watch. And I thought, well, she's obviously come to meet me. So I went up to her and I said, are you expecting Ian Macmillan? And she went, yes. And I said, it's me. And she went, oh. And she looked me up and down like my mother does. And she went, you're nothing like your photograph. I said, oh, well, it's an old picture, can't be helped. I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. And we're going towards the school. And she's going, I can't get over, I literally like your photograph. I said, oh, well. And we get to the school and she says, I'm introducing you to the kids. Let's just get this straight before you start. How many novels have you written? And I said, none. And she said, that explains it. And we get in the school, this is true. There's a big photograph of somebody else. And he says, welcome, Ian Macmillan. She went, that's not you. I said, no. She said, that explains it. She kept saying that explains it. It turns out there's another Ian Macmillan, an American novelist. He's dead now, so this won't happen again. This American novelist. And she got this book out of him and she went, you didn't write this? I said, no. And on the back of the book, this is true, it says, Ian Macmillan teaches at the University of Hawaii. And she said, we couldn't work out, I taught in Hawaii and lived in Barnsley. And I said, yes. It's at least 3 bushes, you've got to change at Rotherham. And she said, the trouble is, all the kids have read your book and they got some questions to ask. And I said, that's all right, I'll answer them. And it was the best half hour of my life. And they're saying things like, how long does it take to write a book? I'm saying about 15 minutes, frankly. And they're saying, what are they about? And that's an example of what Picture the Poet isn't. Picture the Poet reminds us who we can be and who we can become. So thinking in a utopian way, I think we should think just for 5 minutes in a utopian way, because I'm a bit of a utopianist. And wouldn't it be fantastic if the gallery, assuming that there still is one, in every town in Britain, became a kind of focal point for everything, so that galleries had not only their own writers in residence, but galleries would have dancers in residence, and galleries would have choirs in residence, and galleries would have brass bands in residence, but also they'd have kind of members of the public in residence who were sort of voted on by fellow members of public who could actually these members of public could turn up because they're members of public in residence and look at stuff and think about it and talk about it and inform the rest of the people who turned up and say, look, this is why we're here. This is what we're looking at. This is why this gallery is the social and cultural and moral heart of this community, because it's in this gallery that the most amazing things happen, that the most amazing things get written and sung and danced about. If the local firms could come to the gallery and say, yes, we'd like the people who work for us to have a go at coming to this gallery and doing a bit of writing and looking around the thing. I've recently done a project for Unilever. And Unilever, they said, I'll tell you what, they said it was like it was a new idea. They went, we've got this great idea, Ian. What we'd like to do is work with some of our workers, look at some pictures and write some poems, they said. We realise it's a bit radical. I said, yeah, it's a bit radical, but I think we'll be all right. And there are so many, there are people, there are these firms out there, and if we could get them to come to our galleries and just say, look, and they would use it, it would be used as a conduit. We would say, right, this is the place we come to. We write, we dance, we sing, we make music. We'll work with the writer in residence. We work with the members of the public in residence. And we should also always be doing what Si did, which is reach out to those hard people, the people who are hard to get hold of. It's all too easy for us to get the schools that want to come. I'd much rather get the schools that don't want to come. I'd much rather get the ones that would be seen dead, the teachers and all, rather than being in a gallery. Because they're the ones that in the end will maybe get most from it and will teach you most about what they do. I once did a project with some sex workers in Doncaster, and that was the most interesting project I've ever done, organised by Doncaster Libraries. They said there was a place called Street Reach in Doncaster which gave sexual advice and sexual health advice and education to mainly young women in Doncaster. And they said, they want to do an arts project. So you and this visual artist are going to go in there. I said, right. And me and this visual artist, a woman called Bernie, we got there, and it was a terraced house in Doncaster, still there, I think, and all the women were upstairs. And the worker said, they're all waiting for you. She said, if they get a bit lively, just bang on the floor with a brush. I said, oh, all right. So I don't normally get nervous, but I was nervous. And me and the artist are sat there, and there was a silence, one of those silences that can last for a long time. So I just said, what have you been up to then? What have you been up to? And this woman said, she was a girl, she was about 14 or 15. She said, if somebody drags me in the pub today, I'll shoot myself. And I said, that is an amazing 3-line poem. That's a haiku. If somebody drags me in the pub today, I'll shoot myself. And the visual artist said, what kind of gun? And this woman described the gun. And we made this amazing book with all these women's work. And like Si said, you don't get very good contact time. It's a 2-hour session, you might get 10 good minutes because they're off, they're going somewhere else. They've got such chaotic lives that actually 2 hours is far too long for them. But the work that we created from that was fantastic. And we also, Doncaster Libraries said, we'd like you to launch this book somewhere on the streets, to reclaim the streets for poetry under the aegis of Doncaster Libraries. So we got this chap who made automata. He got an old Silver Cross pram and he put wings on it and a beak. And me and these sex workers pushed it through the streets of Doncaster. And it was opening its mouth and shutting its mouth like that, and the wings were going like that. And it was the most amazing thing. We made a little film about it for BBC years ago. It might be still knocking about. And the best bit was that these women who were now being validated, this is their work, they pushed this Silver Cross pram down to one of these dodgy employment agencies where people are waiting to go and pick peas in Sleaford for £1 an hour. And they went up to these people and they said, we've been writing poems. Can we show you them? And these fellows went, go on then. And it was this amazing thing. It was like a writer's workshop. This woman read this poem out that she'd written. And this fella said, I like that, but I don't get line 3. And she went, well, it means this. And he went like that. And it was like an amazing moment. And I thought, that's thanks to the libraries saying you can go into these places and make work with people who wouldn't normally make work. And I think that's what we should aim at. We should aim at our galleries and our centres and our libraries being places where anybody feels they can come and everybody can make work. I'll stop there because it's 14:44 and 45 seconds. And because I'm 60 years old, it takes me 15 seconds to walk off the thing. But we've got the flip chart hidden behind there. So when my last session comes, we're going to get the flip chart, we're going to make up the epic. So we're going to carry on now. Thank you very much. Thank you.